Okay, we've come to our final lesson and the exams are just around the corner. So what better time to do a quick evaluation? How are you tracking? How are you going? Are you revved up and fired up for this end of year exam, or are you a little bit nervous of where it's going? What have you learned so far? What could you improve upon in this next short period of time before we get to that final exam? So just to have a quick review of how your grades have gone so far. Okay, so just write them down on a piece of paper for yourself. Are you building up nicely to what you want to achieve in that final exam? What's working for you? What isn't? Is it mind maps working for you? Are you got cue cards behind this? Hopefully maybe the Edrolos helped out a little bit. Is it your teacher's demonstration of the notes? Are you getting feedback on each of your sacks? Think about what's working for you and what isn't. And with this little window ahead, like how can you improve and do better? Okay, for that final end of year exam. Now, the review that you're doing right now is exactly the same as a business going through change. They will review their change. Has it achieved their objectives? Just the same as you're now doing a review for yourself and whether you're achieving your objectives. So hopefully you can see the synergy between those two there. And unfortunately, we have come to our final lesson. So as I get to my farewell bit, which I'll get to in a minute, I thought it's appropriate that we have one final terrible dad joke to finish. And many of you will know, unfortunately, that I'm British. So I shall attempt to move into my British attire, my British thing, for one final British dad joke. So what do British people eat for breakfast? Cheerios, old chap. And I cheerio you for the final dad joke here, and let's get straight onto the lesson without further ado. So this final lesson is all about evaluating change in business. The key parts of the study design we'll cover in this lesson here is the importance of reviewing key performance indicators to evaluate the effectiveness of our business transformation. Okay, so you can see here it is vitally important. At the end of a business transformation, at the end of all the change we've been doing for this Unit 4 area study 2, to review key performance indicators. So for any business, we've gone about this business transformation. We need to see whether we've achieved the objectives we set out to in the first place. Have we achieved the net profit figures we wanted to, or the sales, or our market share? What do we strive to achieve? Have we done that? Okay, so it's vital at this stage here to go back to the objectives, the key performance indicators, to see whether we've actually done that or not. So how do we know we've been successful? We're going to review our KPIs and see the size and extent of any transformation. We might then also identify areas we still need to improve upon. And maybe we're even going to consider alternative strategies if we didn't get the result we're looking for. So we're going to check, have we achieved the goals and objectives we wanted to? And if not, where do we go next? So hopefully you can see here we're pulling together all the content we've covered in Unit 3 and Unit 4. We've had business objectives. We've embarked on change. We're then going to see whether we've achieved the goals we've set out to. So any business would go through this cycle all the time, reviewing their performance. And this is where it's really important at this final point here to review our KPIs. So imagine at the very outset, we would have assessed sources of data. As a business owner, how are we going? We would then have considered driving and restraining forces. Okay, what's pushing us to change? What's holding back and resisting that change? We'd have considered, well, our strategic position. Do we follow a lower cost or differentiated route from Porter's generic strategies? Or we'd consider new opportunities to reach those goals. We would consider the whole raft of different management strategies to respond to the KPIs. We'd have looked at the strengths and weaknesses of each one and which one we would then implement that's going to best achieve the successful goals we're looking for. And once we've implemented them, we've considered that Lewin's 3-step change model. We'd have considered unfreeze, preparing for change, then transitioning and actually implementing those strategies, and then reinforcing and anchoring them in terms of the refreeze. And then once we've done that, have we achieved what we set out to achieve in the first place? So this, obviously, is that key next stage where we review the KPIs and evaluate the effectiveness of the business transformation. Then we can say, yes, we got the goal we wanted to. And if not, as we assess this data, we might then go around again to try and review and tweak things to finally achieve those goals we set out to. So putting all of this together, let's look at 2 examples of how this all links in together and all of these components come into play. So first of all, let's assume we've got a business, and in year 1 we had 29% market share, and in year 2 that's fallen to 24%. Well, instantly for ourselves, we're going to be thinking about that data. We're assessing the data as our first step. What has it probably told us? Well, we're getting a falling number of sales as a percentage of the total industry pie. Maybe that's because consumers are not happy with our product. They don't like it, and instead they're buying our competitors. So what could we possibly implement to respond to that? Well, if they're not happy, maybe we could bring in some new quality strategies like total quality management, and we could implement them to try and resolve the problem and have a better quality product. Or maybe we're finding that our customer service staff training is bad. We're not making a good connection with our customers and they're walking away dissatisfied and going somewhere else. So maybe we could invest in that instead. So the idea being is we pick one of those. We're going to go with the total quality management and we're going to implement it. And then we're now going to review the KPIs after this period of change to see what's happening. We look again, we've gone from 24%, but unfortunately we've dropped again. We've now dropped to 19%. Sales are still declining as a percentage of the industry. So at this point here, we review the KPIs and we're now going, okay, now what do? We've tried one strategy. We're going to try something else. So maybe it's instead not about the products themselves and the quality, but maybe it's about the prices. And we need to have a different strategy to lower production costs to reduce those prices. So let's now try that. We're going to go with lowering our production costs, increasing productivity rates, and we're going to invest in technology to try and reduce the cost per unit. So you can see this story evolves, and this important stage here where we evaluate the KPIs after the transformation then leads on to another phase where we're going to refine it again to hopefully lead to a more positive outcome. Here's another scenario where we're going to look at reviewing these KPIs and what it means for us. So again, let's assess our data at the outset. In year 1, we have $50,000 net profit. In year 2, remember brackets are negative, we've lost money, okay? We've now got a net loss of $10,000. So therefore, what does that mean? Well, it's probably meaning either revenue is falling, we're getting less money coming in, and therefore our revenue's gone down, and therefore our profits have gone down, or our costs are rising. The production costs are making that revenue minus expenses worse. So what's happening here? Well, if we analyze this, then maybe our costs and expenses are too high, okay? That our costs have been rising and we need to cut back. So let's think about some strategies that could respond to that. We could be going with some cost-cutting measures or some lean production techniques as a way of trying to reduce our costs. So let's assume that we've implemented that one. We're going to implement both of them, cost-cutting measures and lean production techniques. And lo and behold, this is the important stage. We're now going to review our KPIs again at the end of that business transformation period. And what we find is it was a $10,000 loss. It's now a $200,000 gain. We've made $200,000 profit. Wow, awesome. So what has it told us? Yes, the costs were falling and now we're making better profit. So at this point here, we've now identified that that change was awesome. That change process we went through, achieved what we wanted, it's achieved our goal. So we've now developed a strength as a low cost, low price business. And now we want to build upon this strength and take a strategic advantage of positioning ourselves as a lower cost approach through Porters. So we're going to look for other avenues to exploit this idea of being a lower cost producer. Therefore, we can get more sales in the future. So we might now increase productivity rates via investment in technology or develop a website for online bookings 24/7. So you can see that review of our KPIs at this phase here then led to us building on that strength, identifying we were doing something well, and then capitalizing on it to lead to better business success in the future. So hopefully we can show here reviewing KPIs is vital, and it can lead to either altering our course of actions or building upon the strengths that we've already identified. Okay, so let's take all that content knowledge and look at a worked example. This is a classic case study question, either in a SAC or the end of the year examination. It could be easily presented to you in a table like this. So the question is asking you to analyze the following key performance indicators from year 2 to year 3. And after a business has implemented a year of cost cutting, so they've already done a period of cost cutting and now you're going to analyze the KPIs. Your job then is to propose and justify a strategy to respond to this data. So you can see it's quite a bit of information to respond to here, and therefore the 6 marks is going to be available here. So going through it, so first of all, we're going to analyze the net profit figures data in relation to cost cutting. Okay, so that's going to be worth 1 mark. Okay, have we achieved what we wanted to achieve? And then we can then imagine the 2nd mark is for analyzing the number of sales data in relation to cost cutting. Then obviously it's not just about the data, but we're analyzing. So what's the connection between the number of sales and the net profit figures? It's going to be worth the mark. And then our 2nd component comes in here. Firstly, to propose a strategy to respond to this data, and then justify in your own opinion how that strategy will successfully achieve and respond to this data. Okay? So obviously, you've got to take this a step at a time and then draw that out for the assessor so they can clearly see that we've addressed all the parts of the question proposed to us. The key performance indicators show that after falling net profit figures from years 1 to 2, the business underwent a period of cost cutting. This has apparently been successful as net profit figures have grown to $1 million from $500,000, which would indicate a rise in revenue or a fall in costs. So you identified that change from year 2 to 3 and clearly express that you've shown the data and you can show to the assessor that you've read it properly. Analysing the sales figures, these continue to fall from 8,000 to 4,000. So therefore it is likely that the cost-cutting strategy contributed most to the higher profit figures. However, it is the decline in sales figures that are now of concern, falling by another 2,000 during this period to 4,000. Therefore, although the cost-cutting measures may have led to savings or lower-priced goods, consumers are still not buying them. This may then indicate that consumers perceive the goods to be of lower quality than competitors, leading to declining in sales. A management strategy to resolve the issue of quality is therefore to implement quality assurance. This is just one sample approach to deal with that issue of quality, not about the cost-cutting. This will raise the standards of manufacture to those required by the external assessor, and this can then also be marketed to consumers via quality assurance certification, which will hopefully boost the reputation and quality of the goods and lead to increased sales results in the next year. Therefore, we can hopefully see the approach here is to just dissect the question into its component parts and just tick them off one at a time. So you've been asked to firstly analyze the KPIs from year 2 to 3. Do that. Okay, then propose and justify a strategy. And by having little paragraphs for it, you can feel confident that you've ticked off all the parts of the question and therefore can get the full marks available. Hopefully that helps. So in this summary slide, hopefully you can see it all come together. Everything you've learned over the course of the year is exactly how a real business would go about a period of transformation. They would assess data that's out there, key performance indicators. How are we going in sales? How are we going in profit? How are we going in market share? Okay, are we meeting the needs of our consumers? We assess the data. We then consider the driving and restraining forces. How do we position ourselves for the future to respond to that data and capitalize on our success? We then consider a whole range of different strategies from operations management, from human resources, or from broader strategies that we could possibly use to respond to these KPIs or take advantage of new opportunities so we can have a better market share in the future. We then implement those strategies. Remember, whenever we go about business change, it's really good to use Lewin's 3-step change model. Okay, so unfreeze, prepare for change, okay, anticipate it, then actually go through the transition, the change itself, and then refreeze, anchoring that into that new position so we capitalize on that situation. And then after all that business change, we want to importantly review the KPIs to evaluate our effectiveness of the business transformation. And then that leads on to the next phase of whether we build on our strengths or respond to areas of weakness and need to improve upon those as well. So hopefully you can see this now as a whole big, exciting part of the course where all of that knowledge you've gained for the whole year is coming together and that you feel armed with so much knowledge that you can apply to the exam. I hope this has been really helpful for you, and I wish you every success for the upcoming exam. Remember, there's still 50% at play, so get in there, give it your best shot. Congratulations on completing Units 3 and 4 Business Management, and all the very, very best, and good luck with the examination. Thank you so much.